So in today's web dev tip, we're going to take a look at how you can do some research on the person who's going to be interviewing you when you go for a software development role. So in the last few videos, we've taken a look at how you can research the company and find out some useful information about it and take that and apply it to an interview situation. But if you know who's going to be interviewing you on the day, it's worth doing a bit of research about that person so that you've got some interesting things to talk about, and you may have a bit of background about them to know what to expect. So over the past few days, we've been looking at a particular company. And the first place to start, once you know the person's name of who's going to be interviewing you, is to look at their LinkedIn profile. So here we've got an example LinkedIn profile of a person who works at this particular company. But what we can do on the LinkedIn profile is just find out a little bit more about them and find out about some of the things that they're interested in particular the technologies that they might like to use. So you can see here this person's listed all of the technologies that they're familiar with and presumably that they like using. So the purpose of this exercise is really just to go through the person's LinkedIn profile and find out what their key interests are in terms of technologies, and that will just give you a bit of a frame of reference as to what their specialities are. So if you're going for an Angular role, for example, you can see this person lists Angular as one of their technologies that they use, but they've also listed React and React Native, for example, so you know that they're familiar with both. So it'd be useful in the interview situation to kind of compare the pros and cons of different frameworks and why you may or may not like a particular one, because you can see this person's got a wide range of skills listed as the technologies that they use, so you should be able to facilitate a good discussion around the benefits and drawbacks of different frameworks. And at the very least, you know that they'll be familiar with these technologies, so you won't be able to blag and get away with talking about things that you don't know about. So that's one important thing to take away, just to know who you're talking to and what their skills are. And the other thing you can do on the LinkedIn profile as well is go through the various roles that the person's had in the past, and you might find a little nugget of information that's useful to take to the interview as well. So especially if you've worked in a similar situation, a similar type of role, or maybe even worked at the same company, you never know. So that's the LinkedIn profile. It's worth having a look through that to get some more information about the person who you're going to be interviewed by. The other thing you can do is look at Twitter as well. So if this person has an active Twitter account, then you can go and see the kind of person that you might be interviewed by, but also again the same sort of things from the LinkedIn profile. What sort of technology are they interested in? What is current at the moment for them? What do they talk about when they're online in social media? So it's worth checking out the Twitter profile of the person who's interviewing you and just checking out what their latest tweets are. Unfortunately, this person hasn't tweeted for a long time, but one thing I did notice is that they have actually tweeted some coding challenges. So it might be that they are interested in doing problem solving of coding challenges outside of work, but also you might see a little insight into something that might be asked at the interview. So for example, this person's tweeted about this particular way of solving a problem, which is swapping variables around, and so that might be something that you get asked at the interview or something similar. So it's worth having a look through their Twitter profile and just seeing if they tweet about a particular problem, because chances are it might be asked at your interview. So Twitter is something that's worth checking out, but of course there are other ways of connecting with a person as well. So any social media or just even searching for the person's name, depending on how unique it is, could yield some results on Google for you. But probably LinkedIn and Twitter, because of the public nature of the profiles, is probably the best way to find some information about the person. So hopefully that's given you a few ideas of what to look for the person who's going to be interviewing you for your software developer role. But that's it for this tutorial. Make sure you stay tuned for more web dev tips.